Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you work in higher ed, you already know that fostering a genuine sense of belonging in residence halls is, well, it's a massive priority. But let's be real here, it's also incredibly complex. You're dealing with hundreds, sometimes literally thousands of students from wildly different backgrounds, and they're all colliding under one roof for the very first time. Navigating those varied needs, mediating roommate conflicts, and trying to build a truly cohesive community, it can make the whole idea of inclusivity feel like a really daunting, kind of abstract mandate. Well, today, we're going to bridge that gap. We're transforming that broad, overarching goal of creating inclusive student housing into an accessible, actionable playbook that you can literally start using today. So, to give you a clear roadmap for managing these varied student needs without waiting around for a top-down directive, here is our playbook's agenda. First, the inclusion imperative. Second, empathy training on budgets. Third, building brave spaces. Fourth, structured discussion clubs. And finally, navigating the journey ahead. Let's get right into it. Kicking things off with Section 1, the inclusion imperative. We really need to start by defining our actual goal here. This perfectly illustrates the stark difference between merely having a diverse student body and actually ensuring a resident feels their unique perspective is celebrated. You see, this goes way beyond simply promoting diversity on a glossy university admissions brochure. Having a diverse student body is amazing, right? But honestly, that's just step one. True inclusion, that's about actively shaping the physical and emotional space. It's the profound difference between a resident merely having a bed in a building and that same resident feeling like their culture, their voice, and their unique perspective are absolutely celebrated by the community around them. As student affairs professional Alex Baker points out, inclusivity is a modern necessity that simply can't wait for a top-down directive. It's not just some buzzword meant for a strategic plan. It's a living, breathing practice. And honestly, I find this quote incredibly empowering. It means whether you're a resident assistant walking the halls at midnight or a coordinator managing a large staff, you are uniquely positioned to influence your immediate environment right now. You absolutely don't need to wait for a committee to start making a difference today.
Moving right along to Section 2, empathy training on budgets.
Let's talk about actionable strategies for cultural competency training when residents' life budgets are, as we all know, notoriously tight. Instead of relying on expensive, high-profile consultants, you can leverage completely free resources and pool community knowledge. If you work in residence life, you know the reality. You probably don't have the funds to fly your entire staff out to a national conference, but check out these scrappy, high-impact solutions. You can leverage totally free, high-quality courses on platforms like Coursera, edX, or Khan Academy. Think about hosting a free viewing party for your staff where you watch a module together and unpack it over some pizza. You can also tap into the campus faculty experts right in your own backyard, or connect with local community organizations who are usually super eager to share their expertise. Better yet, try co-hosting training sessions with neighboring institutions to pool your resources and share the workload. It's scrappy, but it absolutely works. That brings us to Section 3, building brave spaces. This requires a pretty crucial paradigm shift regarding the vocabulary and philosophy we use when establishing environments for identity expression. So the big point here is moving away from well-intentioned safe spaces and instead cultivating brave spaces. Baker points out a hard truth in our sources. While safe spaces are fundamentally well-intentioned, we simply can't guarantee that an environment will be entirely safe from discomfort for everyone at all times. In a vibrant, diverse university setting, differing viewpoints are inevitably going to clash. Discomfort is often just a necessary byproduct of genuine learning. Sourced from research by NASPA, this concept of a brave space empowers individuals to courageously share their authentic experiences without fear of malicious judgment. It's really about asking for courage rather than guaranteeing total comfort. So how do we actually build these brave spaces in a residence hall? Coordinators, or Cs, and their staffs can easily build these spaces through simple, everyday visual and verbal cues that establish a standard of bravery and mutual respect from day one. Look at these highly achievable daily actions. You can display clear signage and policy statements right out in the open in the lobby. You can provide verbal affirmations of your commitment to respect during those first crucial floor meetings. Don't just assume residents know the rules of engagement, speak them out loud. Proactively share resources from campus diversity departments so support networks are highly visible. And finally, intentionally add diverse artwork, literature, and decor to your halls. These constant cues do the heavy lifting of establishing your brave space. All right, our third play in the playbook brings us to Section 4, structured discussion clubs. Let's be honest, traditional book clubs can sometimes feel a bit rigid for a busy residence life staff, juggling classes, duty rotations, and endless incident reports. Getting everyone to read the exact same 300-page book on the exact same timeline is usually an uphill battle. A fantastic alternative is the team presentation approach. Having each team member select and teach back a different diversity, equity, and inclusion resource completely democratizes the learning process. It takes the pressure off any single person to be the expert and exposes your entire team to a much wider variety of perspectives, authors, and topics in a fraction of the time. It's a real game changer. To keep those team presentations highly productive, use the what, so what, now what framework to smoothly guide your team from objective observation straight into real-world next steps. It's a brilliant, practically zero-cost tool for structured reflection. Step 1 is what. So the presenter objectively describes the materials covered without any judgment, like summarizing the core argument of an article about microaggressions. Step 2 is so what. This is where you interpret the implications. You connect the text to your specific campus context. For example, the presenter might ask the team to consider how those microaggressions might be subtly playing out in their own floor communities. Finally, step 3 is now what? Planning future actions. This could mean your staff decides to implement a new check-in question during one-on-ones with residents. It moves you effortlessly from theory straight to action. Now that you have the playbook, we arrive at Section 5, Navigating the Journey Ahead. We really have to acknowledge the very real hurdles you're going to face when trying to implement these strategies out in the wild. Change in higher education rarely happens overnight, and you will inevitably encounter deeply ingrained frustrations and budget constraints along the way. You're going to see institutional friction, resistance from staff or students who are perfectly comfortable with the status quo, or perhaps just fearful of saying the wrong thing. You will absolutely face strict budget constraints that force you to get creative. And you'll likely run up against institutional cultures that can be frustratingly slow to evolve. So how should we view those hurdles? Well, by remembering this crucial reality. Overcoming these challenges requires a serious commitment to ongoing dialogue, immense collaboration, and a resilient willingness to adapt when inevitable missteps occur. You aren't going to just check a box after one staff meeting and suddenly have a perfectly inclusive campus. There will be missteps. There will be moments of friction. Recognizing that inclusivity is an active, continuous journey of introspection and deliberate action is honestly half the battle. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question pulled directly from our discussion framework. As you reflect on your specific sphere of influence in student housing, consider this final thought carefully. Armed with these new actionable strategies for building empathy, cultivating brave spaces, and driving structured dialogue, what is the very first thing you will do differently tomorrow to ensure your residents feel valued? Really think about it. Thanks so much for joining me. Keep learning, and I wish you the absolute best of luck on the journey ahead.